I'm a student of institutions and economic performance generally. And institutions evolve because interested people, like lawyers, for example, in the rule of law, play an activist role in ensuring that boundaries are put in place. So the Nigerian Bar Association is in its right in saying judicial activism can make a difference in the matter of justiciability. Yes, I mean, as somebody whose training is also about resources and economic management, you can argue easily that, or perhaps something that you legislate, there may not be adequate resources for those things. It's logical, and I have taken that position in this conversation. You can't just decree and make a law that says give everybody free this, free that, when there's no provision for how the resources will come. That is clearly a problem. But when you recognize that these are rights, and you make a law, you put it in the ground norm that these are rights, but because of resource challenges, you cannot make them justiciable. It is now the duty of the judiciary to rule in ways that will pressure the government not just to neglect it because it said it's not justiciable, but to act responsibly in accounting to ensuring that those conditions are met. I'll give you a simple example. It is said that the United States of America is one of the places where it is easiest for a young person with no resources but a good brain, a good degree, to access equity and create a business, build a startup. This is why the American economy is one of the most renewable economies in the world. Credit for this has been given to judicial activism. In fact, one of the great set of scholars who worked in this area, Rajan and Zingales, in a book titled Saving Capitalism from the Capitalists, actually credit a US Supreme Court Justice, Charles Brandeis, for a series of judgments that makes America where it is easiest to access financial resources to create enterprise. So I do expect that if you have in the Constitution these rights that citizens have, they are not being given to the citizens, if you will, and public officers use resources recklessly, the judge can use his place on that bench to ensure that, governor, you cannot have a 20-car motorcade if those kids are not in school, or some that begins to pressure accountability. It may not say go and bring money that does not exist and use to establish this, but it will create a context. So how do we make politics the simple life where resources go more to the needs of the citizens rather than politicians to do whatever they like with resources and argue that it's not justiciable? These are the pressures we must put on political actors for accountability.
And we will see a lot of promises that are being made by these politicians with disregard to Section 2, Chapter 2 that we are talking about today. Now, how does the citizen goes about enforcing this right of Chapter 2?
You see, the citizen must act in a way that rejects an order that is irresponsible relative to the ground norm of the place. Every political party ought to have in its, as has been said here, in its manifesto, in its constitution, this fact of Chapter 2. Now, but they don't bother, and nobody asks questions. Nobody even asks the political parties how they account for what they promise. And this has to change from citizens becoming true citizens and making sure that politicians act right. Part of what we are about, and we will do, this very election, we will create a platform that essentially holds every political actor accountable for what they commit to. And no one should be able to be voted for if that person does not show how they will implement ideas that they raise. Don't say you give free this, free road, free that. How? This is how we'll create intelligent leadership that will create the employment, that will create the development. If we can't ask them how, then people will get away with saying anything they like to say. So we must ask how. You in the media are a very important part of that. The citizens must hold politicians to debates and to account for what they say they will do. This must be the essence of 2023.